Good day, I'm Abalore. On today's episode, we'll be looking at supply function as a topic. So, before now, we've looked at the distinction between change in supply and change in quantity supply. And we've been able to strike a difference that's change in quantity supply is primarily responsible by the change in the price of the commodity, and change in supply is primarily responsible by other factors affecting supply while the price remain constant. So with respect to change in quantity supply, like we said, it's primarily responsible by the price of the commodity. And that means when the price of the commodity falls, supply, the quantity supply also falls. And when the price of the commodity rises, the quantity supply also rises. But with respect to change in supply, depending on how the other factors vary, then that will determine whether there will be rightward shift in the supply or there will be leftward shift in the supply. That's supply curve basically, whether supply will increase or supply will decrease. So we're going to be looking into that uh, in a second or two. So you've just got to stay to the end of this video because you're going to be learning a great deal. Not just playing with those concepts, we're going to be putting into practice to all that we've learned regarding solving questions on supply function. So let's talk about supply function now. So supply function establishes a functional relationship between supply and the determinants of supply. So when we say determinants of supply, it's classified into two basically. It can either be price determinants or non-price determinants. So these are the determinants of supply we have. So when we say price determinants, we mean the price of the commodity. And how does the price of the commodity affect the quantity supply of a particular commodity? Going by the law of supply. And as we all know, that the lower the price, the lower the quantity supply. And the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply. You all know there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supply. So the direction that price goes is the same direction that the supply, that's the quantity supply, also goes. That means price rising, quantity supply also rise. Price falls, quantity supply also falls. Then price of other commodities. This is most times explained using two goods that make use of the same inputs or raw materials. So let's take, for example, bread and cake. In the production of these two commodities, they make use of flour. And let's take, for example, how does the change in the price of bread affect the supply of cake? For example, if the price of bread rises, as a producer, you are producing bread and at the same time producing cake, and the price of bread rises, it means, like we did say earlier on, that a higher price is a positive signal, it's an incentive for the supplier to supply more, and a lower price is a negative signal or a warning signal for the supplier to supply less. So when the price of bread rises and the price of cake remain constant, what that means is that as a supplier, you are going to move all those factor inputs, raw materials, to the production of bread so that you'll be able to produce bread and sell more at a higher price so that more profit for you. That's basically what that means. So the supply of bread is going to increase because the price of it has increased. And since inputs, raw materials, have been moved from cake, production of cake to production of bread, what that means is that supply of cake will reduce and the supply of bread will increase because the price of bread has increased. So that's basically how the price of other commodities affect the supply of other commodities. So most times it's explained using two goods that make use of the same input or raw materials. Cost of production. Cost of production basically means the expenses you incur in the production of goods or services. So if cost of production is very low, it will encourage producers to go into production of that commodity and produce more. And when they produce more, they supply more. But when the case is otherwise, whereby cost of production is very high, it will discourage suppliers or producers from going into the production of that commodity. And as a result, supply will be very low. So this is the case of Nigeria. Nigeria is faced with cost push inflation, whereby due to increase in the cost of production, supply is reduced, or let me say production is discouraged, and as a result, supply is reduced. So cost of production and supply of a commodity have negative or inverse relationship, meaning that the higher the cost of production, the lower the supply. And the lower the cost of production, the higher the supply. Ceteris paribus. The level of technology. The level of technology as one of the determinants of supply means that when a country uses advanced and cutting edge technologies in the production of goods or services, then what that means is that production will increase. And when production increases, supply of that particular goods will also increase. And that is basically what is experienced by most developed countries of the world, whereby, let's say, America, Germany, Switzerland, France, Canada, and all that. In these countries, they are developed countries, and developed countries put to use advanced technology in the production of goods or services. So as a result, they produce more. And when they produce more, they supply more. And when they supply more, that's the case of surplus. And each time surplus exists, prices are usually very low. They plummet. That's basically what that means. So the use of advanced technology also determines the supply of a particular commodity. And in most less developed countries, or let me say middle developing economies, that makes use of, let me say, mixed method of production or obsolete, old-fashioned method of production, it will reduce the supply or it will reduce the production of goods or services. And as a result, supply will reduce. Just the case of Nigeria. The reason why Nigeria keep having shortages in production of goods or services as a result of we haven't scaled up the method of production from labor intensive to capital intensive. That's the use of advanced technologies, because when we put to use advanced techniques in the production of goods and services, production will increase and automatically supply will increase. So level of technology also determines or is one of the determinants of supply. And lastly, the number of producers. The number of producers could also be the number of sellers or manufacturers. If the number of producers for a particular commodity increases, definitely you will have increase in production and consequently increase in supply. But when the number of suppliers for a particular commodity reduces, then you're going to have production reducing and supply also reducing. So this is basically, you can have increase in the number of producers when government decides to deregulate a particular sector and gives licenses to many producers. So as a result, we have the markets being very competitive. That's because of the large number of producers in that particular businesses or sector. So as a result, we have the supply of that commodity to increase. So here, the determinants of supply, like I said, are classified into two. So we have price determinant, that's the price of the commodity, and non-price determinants. These are what we have: non-price determinants, price of other commodities, cost of production, the level of technology, the number of producers, the weather, climatic condition, taxation, and all that. So those are non-price determinants. So with respect to supply function here, we did say it established a relationship between between supply and the determinants of supply. So not only price determines the quantity supply or the supply for a commodity, but other factors too. Now, this is basically what we have. So supply of a commodity or quantity supply is determined by, as a function of price of the commodity, price of other commodity, cost of production, level of technology, and the number of suppliers, number of producers. That's basically what you have. Number of producers, number of producers. So Now, let's consider price because price is the major determinant of the quantity supply of the commodity. So, if we are taking or we are considering price as the major determinant of the quantity supply, but we have a supply function to be that QS is going to be A plus BP. So quantity supply is determined by the price of the commodity. So we're going to be playing with the concept of ceteris paribus. So all these other factors that's not price determinants will be held constant. So if other factors are held constant, then you will have your supply function to be this. So quantity supply, that's the supply function equals A is autonomous supply. That's autonomous supply, or most times it's often regarded as a constant. Autonomous supply are those supply that are determined by exogenous variables or external factors. But B here, B means slope. That's the slope of the supply curve. Slope of the supply curve is considered to be positive because there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supply. That's the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply, and the lower the price, the lower the quantity supply. So there is variable. So that's for slope. And the slope of the supply curve, like we said, is positive. It slopes upward from left to right, or it slopes downward from right to left. This is what we have with respect to the slope of the supply. So this is supply. This is the price region. Then this is the quantity supply region. So it slopes upward from the left to the right, or it slopes downward from the right to the left. Then we have P now. P is the price of the commodity. That's the price of the commodity. Price of the commodity. So this is basically what we have with respect to the supply function. So this plus you have it, this plus you have it is as a result of the positive relationship. Sorry, positive relationship between price and quantity supply. If it were for demand, this plus you have it, this positive you have is going to be negative for demand because there is a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. But with respect to supply, there is a positive, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supply, and that's why you have this positive here. So supply is a function of all these factors here. That's basically what that means. So I want to explain all these concepts. Then let's play with question. Let's do justice to these questions we have here, shall we? Yeah. So uh, let me rub up these parts. So let's do justice to question one. So question one, solution. So we're given supply function as 20 plus 3p. We are asked to determine the quantity supply when price is 5 naira. And the B part says we should determine the total revenue. So let's get the quantity supply. So the supply function given is QS equals 20 plus 3p. When P equals 5 naira. So anywhere you see P, you are going to put 5 there. So 20 plus 3 into 5. Then 20 plus 3 times 5, that's 15. Then 15 plus 20, that gives you 35 units. So the quantity supply is 25. It's 35, sorry. So that was the A part of the question. Very simple. Then the B part says we should determine the total revenue. Total revenue, to determine that, total revenue total revenue is gotten by price times the quantity supply. Quantity supplied. So the price we are given here is 5. So we have 5 naira times the quantity supply here is 35. 35 units. So 35. units. 35 units. So 35 times 5, excuse me. So 35 times 5, that gives us 175. 175. That's going to be in naira. So total revenue is 175 naira. For producing 35 units and at a price of 5 naira, then the total revenue of that particular seller is going to be 175. So that's the solution to the first question. So I hope that is understood. So to get your total revenue, like we said, total revenue is price times quantity supply. Then let's do justice to question 2 now. So question 2, solution. Solution. So we're given Q, that's 12 equals QX plus 1 over 2 raised to power 2 P. Then we're asked to determine the quantity supply when prices are 8. So when P is 8 naira. So anywhere you see P, you are going to put 8 there. That's basically that. So here we have 12 equals QS plus 1 over 2 raised to power 2. So P is 8. That's what we have. So 12 equals QS plus 8 times 1, that's 8. Then 2 raised to power 2, that's 2 times 2. That gives us 4. So 12 equals QS plus 8 divided by 4, that gives us 2. Then collection of like times, QS plus 2 equals 12. That's the issue of left hand side. You bring the whole of this here, then you transfer this here. The sign will not change initially. Then let's collect like times now. So QS equals 12. When this comes to this side, that will be minus 2. Then QS will be 10 units. So quantity supply is expressed in units. So anytime you get your quantity supply, it's always expressed in units. So that's the solution to the second question. Then let's do justice to the third question, which is the last but not least. So can I rub up these parts? Okay, good. So let's do justice to the last question. Okay, let me rub up this part. So we're given supply function as 30 plus 2 over 3p. So this p, don't forget, we multiply this numerator, which is 2. Then we have to determine the quantity supply at the following prices. That's 3, 9, and 12. And we're also asked to draw the supply function for the answer in A above. That means the answer we've gotten in A, we should draw our supply curve for that. So let's solve now. So solution. Solution. So QS equals 30 plus 2 over 3P. So let's get the quantity supply at these respective prices given. So when price equals 3, so anywhere you see P, you are going to put 3 there. So QS equals 30 plus 2 over 3 into 3. So P is 3. Then 30 plus 2 times 3, that's 6. 6 divided by 3, that gives us 2. Then 30 plus 2, that gives us 32 units. So QS is 32 units when the price is 3. Then when the price is 9 now, let's do that. So when P is 9 naira, so we have QS equals 30 plus 2 over 3P. So P is 9 now, so 9. So we have 30 plus 2 times 9, that's 18. 18 divided by 3, that's 6. Then 30 plus 6, that gives us 36 units. So QS is 36 when price is 9. That's basically what we have. Then we have the last price, that's 12. So when P equals 12 naira, So we have QS equals 30 plus 2 over 3 P. Sorry, so P is 12. So 30 plus anywhere you see P, you put 12 there. That's basically what we've done here. So 30 plus 2 times 12, that's 24. 24 divided by 3, that's 8. So 30 plus 8, that gives us 38 units. So QS is 38. That's quantity supply is 38 when the price is 12 there. That's basically what we mean by that. So haven't gotten the A requirements of the question, that's to determine the quantity supply. We've done that. Then the B part says we should draw the supply curve for what you've gotten above. That's the respective price and the quantity supply. Now, before you draw your supply curve, don't forget you must have been given your supply schedule, because supply curve is drawn using supply schedule. So without supply schedule, you can't draw your supply curve. So first thing first, we have to get our supply schedule prepared. And supply schedule, like we said, is a tabular representation showing the relationship between prices and quantity supply. Or most times, it's just a table that shows the prices and their corresponding quantity supply. So don't forget also that the supply schedule is often drawn using the supply or laws. That's the normal supply laws, which states that the lower the price, the lower the quantity supply, and the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply. So there is variables. All other factors must be held constant. They must be the same. They must not change for there to be positive relationship between prices and quantity supply. So here now, let's draw our supply schedule. So supply schedule, that's the B part of the question. Supply schedule, that's the B part. So supply schedule is just a tabular representation. That's the quantity supply, quantity supply. So this is basically what supply schedule. So the prices given here, we have 3, 9, and 12. So the respective units that we've gotten for each of these prices. So at 3 naira, the units supply was 32 units. At 9 naira, the quantity supply is 36. So 36 units. And last but not least, that's 38 units. So I haven't gotten a supply schedule drawn or prepared, then we can now draw a supply curve. Because without this, there is no how we can draw the supply curve. So let's draw the supply curve. So supply curve basically is just a graphical representation of the supply schedule. So it's a graph that shows the relationship between the price and the quantity supply. So supply curve now is still B Roman figure 2. This is B Roman figure 1. Most times, the examiner will not ask you to draw the supply schedule, but you just have to. You just have to, because the examiner knows quite well that without the supply schedule, you can't get the supply curve. I hope that is understood. So you must draw the supply schedule before you can have your supply curve drawn. So supply curve. So supply curve, like we said, is this. Then we have the origin. This is the price region. The vertical axis is the price region. So this is the price region, and this is the quantity supply region as the horizontal axis. So the prices are 3, 9, and 12. So 3, 9, and 12. So 12, 9, 3. So prices decreases this way. It increases this way. Quantity increases this way. It decreases this way. So here we have quantity, the lowest here. That's 32. Then we have 36 units, and we have 38 units. So you can see that the supply schedule depicts the normal laws of supply. That's the lower the price, the lower the quantity supply. But when the price rose to 12, you can see that the quantity supply increases. Exactly what we've talked about. That a higher price is a positive signal, is an incentive for the supplier to supply more, a higher price. Then a lower price we discourage, is a warning signal for the supplier to supply less so that for the producer to minimize cost basically. But here is to maximize profit at higher prices, supply more. That's why every industry that's prices are very high there, you will see lots of producers trooping in into that industry, and as a result, supply will increase. So when the price, let's plot the supply curve now. So when the price is 3, the quantity supply is 32. So we trace it. We are drawing the supply curve now. So we trace it, we are staring it. This is where they meet. Then when the price is 9, the quantity supply is 36. So we have this. So this is where they meet, we are staring it. Then last but not least, 12, 38 units. So 12, 38 units, 38 units. So let's join the asterisks now. So this is the asterisk, we join it. So this is our supply slope. So look at this now. Very interesting to know that we now have movements along the supply curve because the major determinants we took into consideration here with respect to this supply function or determining the supply, the quantity supply here is the price of the commodity. So when the price of the commodity is the major determinant of the quantity supply of a particular commodity, you have movements along the supply curve. And these movements along the supply curve can either be upward or downward. So this from A to B is upward movement and A to C is downward movement. So upward movement means increase in quantity supply as a result of the increase in the price of the commodity. That's because the price has risen from 9 to 12. Then the quantity supply has risen from 36 to 38. That means the quantity supply has increased by 2 units. And the downward movement in the supply curve means decrease in quantity supply. And that is primarily responsible as a result of the decrease in the price of the commodity. So when price decreases from 9 to 3, you have the quantity supply to decrease from 36 to 32 units. That's by 4 units. Quantity supply has decreased by 4 units due to decrease in the price from 9 to 3. So this is basically what we have regarding the solution to this question. So this is our supply slope, which we have. So this is supply slope. So this is increase in quantity supply, and this is decrease in quantity supply from 36 to 32. That's decrease in quantity supply. And from 36 to 38, that's increase in quantity supply. So that's basically what we have for you today. Thank you for your time. Without you being there, we can't be here. So we are here because you are there. And we promise to always be there for you guys. So please, for having stopped with this fight means you really so much like this video, and I will advise you click the like button, hit the subscribe bell so that and the notification bell as well, so that each time we put out a video you will be the first to get notified regarding that. Continue to help share our videos to friends and relatives whom this video might be of great help. And what more can I say? I will see you on my next video. Do have a good one. Bye bye. And to all the Muslim around the world, I wish you all Ramadan Kareem, Eid Mubarak, and may the peace and blessings of this period abide with everyone forever. Thank you all so much. Bye bye. See you on my next video. Bye bye.